Oh, hey, sup, it's Ralph Bob.
Oh, hey, sup, guys? How's it going? We got a big Blizzard update today. They just did a interview video explaining what's going on with Shadowlands, with the Shadowlands Alpha, and what they're going to do in the next couple of months before release, which is exciting. And if you guys want to hear more update videos on Shadowlands, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And let's get into what they were talking about. The first thing is that Shadowlands releases this fall, which is great. It's great. It's not winter, it's fall, so it's probably going to be they didn't specify a month. Unfortunately, they didn't specify a month or a day, but they're working hard on it. And the beta comes out this next week, coming up next week, which is great. And I hope I get into the beta, and I hope you guys get into the beta. Make sure to turn on your beta opt settings in your account. Something going on in Classic. We got the Anchorage event coming July 26th, so that's very soon. So if you're playing Classic, look out for that. They showed off the Collector's Edition, which actually looks pretty sexy. I kind of think I want to get my hands on that. I'm not really sure. It looks pretty cool though. They got an art book in there and a mouse pad and some pins, and the box itself actually looks pretty dope. And I'm just like, I've never bought a collector's edition ever, but I'm just like, it looks so cool. So what they're talking about is getting the beta out next week, that the framework of the game is complete, and that most of the systems just need polish and tuning, and that the alpha did a very good job of identifying bugs and going over certain systems and getting a lot of player feedback, which is awesome. I'm glad stuff was going well over there. They're being very forthcoming about what's going on, which is great. So in the beta, they are opening up level 60. We're able to get to level 60, and they're going to start testing some of the in-game content, which is awesome. We get to see some of that stuff and how it plays out over time, especially with the covenants. They did a lot of covenant news now. We have a lot of there's a lot more to the covenants than we previously thought. So the first thing is, once you hit level 60, you play with every covenant through the leveling zones, and you get to see what their abilities are and how you like them and how you like the NPCs and if they fit your overall theme. And then you get to make the choice at level 60. Once you finished all the campaigns, you get to make a choice on who you want to side with. Now, this is going to be a very important choice because it's going to affect pretty much your entire content going forth into the end game. So it's going to really push you to want to level alts, so you can get to pick and choose and see what's going on with all 4 covenants. Because I normally don't mess around with alts too much, but this is definitely going to push me into wanting to see what's going on in the end game with all 4 covenants. So I think the first goal for me is leveling up 4 characters to level 60, each of them with a different covenant. Next, you'll be able to join soulbinds with certain NPCs that are aligned with that covenant. There are certain special NPCs that you're going to see while you're questing throughout the Shadowlands, and you're going to be able to choose it's basically a talent tree, where you get to choose the spec that you want, and then you can use your conduits, which are gems essentially, to fill that out how you want and how to affect your playstyle. Switching soulbinds should actually be pretty easy from what we understand. Shouldn't be more than just like a respecking or using some sort of small payment just to redo your soulbind if the one that you chose is not the one that you like. A new thing is you get to gain renown with the covenant, which is basically the reputation, but it's a little bit different. It looks like it unlocks certain key components to the game, and overall unlocks your covenant level over time. I'm not exactly sure what's tied to it. I'm not sure if I missed that part or if they just didn't specify, but it looks like it slowly unlocks things, and maybe more and more dailies, more and more quests and content over time as you do stuff. Once you choose your covenant, you're going to be leveling up the renown to try and boost the stuff in the activities. Each covenant has a sanctum similar to the class halls in Legion, which is awesome because I love the class hall system. I thought it was a really cool idea, and I'm glad they're bringing it back in some capacity. This is a different version from class halls, but each covenant has their own little zone where you get to hang out and be a part of your crew. And you also get special transportation within that zone where your covenant lies, which is kind of cool. So whenever you're in that area where your covenant is at, you get to experience the benefits of being there and being part of that covenant. So you get to move around at a more efficient pace than somebody that's not in that covenant, which is kind of cool. So there's a new feature called the Anima Conductor, which is, so basically in the Shadowlands, in each of these zones, there's the anima. there's an anima drought, whatever, and you can see in these zones that they're withering away. There's certain zones that are just not looking good, and so what the Anima Conductor is that the more anima that you put into it, you can select certain zones to regrow them, to reflourish them, and then as you do that, it unlocks new content, so more dailies, unlocks treasure chests, just random stuff that you will be getting to do, and it also will show you. It'll also change the environment, which is a cool idea to me. I think that's really a pretty neat idea. And eventually you'll be able to permanently change the environment for the better and make everything look pretty and nice, and you can just do all the content. And the scouting map, which is basically a reinvented version of the mission table. This is not going to be anything super key. It's just going to be able to give you some extra bonuses while you're offline and give you some offline progression. And then they mentioned some special events for each faction, which he went into pretty good detail about each one. Basically, once you choose a faction, you're able to experience part of the faction's like everyday goings on. Like one of them throws a party, and you have to try to make all the party participants happy, and if you do so, then it ends up benefiting you. There's one that's like a garden, the night phase, like a garden similar to that. So each covenant is going to have different events like that, where you have to make the people of that particular covenant happy, like the NPCs and such, which is cool and gives you another reason to want to go and level up and see how that plays out and play different alts and different covenants. There's new dungeons, of course, and then the Maw. They talked about the Maw, which is going to be not a world quest zone, not a leveling zone. This is going to look like, it looks like to me, an endgame zone, which is similar to like Mechagon or Timeless Isle and stuff, but it's more, to me, from what he sounded like, is you go in there and you try to survive as long as you can and get as much of the resources as you can, and if you die, then you lose some of that resource. So you want to survive as long as possible, get as much resource as possible, and make it out alive, which seems kind of like a cool idea to me. It kind of reminds me of the Dark Zone in like the Division or something, where you go in and you try to get all the special loot and make it out alive, and if you die, then you lose everything. It's kind of similar to me, and there's a couple other games that do that too, so I'm hoping that's what it is. We didn't really get to see exactly how the gameplay works, but the zone itself looked really nice, really treacherous and brutal looking overall. So more of the testing that they're going to present in the beta is Castle Nathria, which is the raid. They're going to do Mythic Plus testing, which is cool. So they're getting a lot of love to this expansion and giving us the chance to experience it during the beta, which is great. And then he went into depth about the legendary rune crafting. So basically what he said was that getting random legendaries like we did in Legion wasn't exactly the best way to go about it. You had zero agency over what you got, and it was basically a luck of the draw. But when it comes to rune crafting, the legendary crafting in Shadowlands, is that you're going to meet a blacksmith in Torghast, and as you progress through Torghast and farm it for the currency and the blacksmith patterns, you will be able to craft these legendaries and make the one that you want, and then you can go and seek out which ones you want after that. You can keep pushing and getting every single legendary, or selling off the base ingredients to the auction house and doing stuff like that to improve your character. And I'm pretty sure they said only one legendary at a time can be equipped, so we're not getting any double legendaries like we did in Legion, at least not yet. Maybe later down the line in different patches, but right now just one legendary you get to choose, and you can mess around with which one you prefer after you've built them all, which I would assume is going to take a lot of time to farm these pieces. It's a cool idea, and I think it's going to bring more of the professions up in relevancy, giving a little bit more meaning to the professions, which is great. So I'm hoping that is a good system and that it's going to be interesting throughout the expansion. And then there is Covenant campaigns at the end. Once you hit level 60 and you finish the entire standard storyline, once you choose a Covenant, there's a Covenant campaign which continues the story past level 60, and it's basically like the war campaign in BFA, but it only happens once you've chosen a Covenant. So it's like end game level, it's like end game questing, which is cool. It gives you a little bit something to do after you've done all of the basic leveling quests and stuff like that. And then they're going to do some PvP testing as well, which is good, so they can start balancing that as soon as possible, because they have a lot to go through. There's a lot of stuff: soul binds, conduits, covenant abilities, all sorts of stuff, legendaries that they have to balance and make sure that they're not completely overpowered right away, which is fine. I like that they're being forthcoming. Once again, they're pushing the feedback. They want the feedback. They want to see the data, and they're going to make sure everything is dialed in, which is great. And then eventually they're going to character copy in the beta as well. So whatever character you're running with in BFA, if you get the beta, you can copy that character into the beta and see how it plays out, how it's going to play out over time as you level through Shadowlands. And you get a realistic idea of where you're at currently and how it's going to affect you in Shadowlands once you get started. Woo! And after all of that, that was a huge bulk of news. It was really cool, and I'm excited, man. For next week, I hope I can get into the beta for us, so we can start making some content on Shadowlands, which would be great. But for now, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, please. We're so close to 100. We're working our way up there. And make sure to comment and tell me what your favorite part of the Shadowlands news was. And let's get into that beta, guys. Let's get it going. All right, you have a good one. Peace.